which I believe is what we're doing right now.
Amen.
Let's do it.
Christ, we're already there.
So, Harry, because you were furthest that way on my screen, I'm going to get you to go first. Give us your number 10 horror movie of all time.
Okay, I'm gonna cheat a little bit. Sorry, Byron. I have 10 going with two movies basically, so I'm just gonna give a quick shout out to one. All right, I know
Yeah,
it's not
you can
allowed.
do honorable
A
mentions.
little quick honorable mention because this was coming in at number 10 until literally 20 minutes ago. Number 10, well, number 11 technically, is a first time watch for this week for me. Is Suspiria.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah.
No, man. Oh.
What, like you wanted higher?
Yeah,
Like,
man.
yeah, fair play. No, no, dude, 10 of
Wait.
11 of all time. Think like this isn't a
I say
bad.
that. It's not in mine,
Oh,
but
well, oh man. But no, this movie I watched it for the first time, like this week, and it's just stuck with me ever since. I think it's brilliantly told. I think anyone that's watched it can agree that the cinematography fucks in it. It's so good.
it's unreal.
Yeah. So that just needed a shout out. So, but number 10 is a Watch This Book Club alumni. Roman Polanski's Rosemary's Baby.
Nice. I had a feeling you might pick that. I know you really, really enjoyed that.
I love this movie. I've watched it twice now. I adore it. Everything about it, the creepy nature of it, I just think is sublime. I think that Mia Farrow is fantastic in it. I love just the atmosphere of this apartment building. It's kind of like a closed setting without a closed setting. I loved it. I think it's brilliant. Number 9 is what I think is the greatest blockbuster of all time with Jaws. That is a horror. That absolutely is a horror. The monster
Yes,
movie.
100%.
Cool. This reaffirmed for me because I saw it in the cinema last year. It just my local cinema does a lot of retro stuff, so I got to see it in the cinema, and that like reaffirmed like how much fun it was to watch it. So absolutely, Steven Spielberg, Jesus, Jaws.
You almost said Stephen King,
I
huh?
did.
That's where I thought he was going
I
with
almost
that.
said Steven Soderbergh, but oh well. So that's 9. Number 8 is Hereditary. I think me and George said it best. I'm very much in one of the latest Real Talks, where he said that's one of the only movies that has made him lose sleep. And I was completely the same. Like, I remember watching it for the first time and coming home and having to have lights on in the house to sleep. Like, it's insane what Ari Aster was able to do. We'll be able to talk about this movie probably in the coming weeks about exactly why I love it, or it might be in your top 5 where we can, in one of your top 5s where we can talk about it a bit more in depth. Number 7 is just an unbelievable slash movie with Halloween. I adore this movie. Should be crucial to everyone's Halloween watch. I think it's brilliant. Everything about it. I just love how Michael Myers drives a car in this movie. I saw a TikTok the other day where it slowed down where Michael Myers driving a car and he looks both ways to turn into an intersection, and I just think that's adorable. So that's why it made into the list at number 7. And then number 6, watched this last night. This is one that Byron says that he disagrees with. It can be described as a dark fantasy, I do, but it does have a lot of horror elements in it. Pan's Labyrinth.
Interesting.
I think it's not only one of I think it's Guillermo del Toro's best film by far.
I agree. I just didn't think it was a horror film.
No, I think there's arguments for and against, but in terms of the Spanish Civil War element, that already is horrific. But then this like horror mind of this girl that's going through these traumatic events that she's and all these like fucked up creatures, I think is absolutely brilliant. I think it's one of the most beautiful films I've ever seen. In terms of character design, I think probably one of, if not the best I've ever seen in any movie. But yeah, that's my 10 or 11 to 6. Who's next?
Wow.
Ash.
Okay, I'm just gonna preface this with I did my top 10 favorites. And they happen to be higher rated ones. They're all 4.5 or 5 out of 5 stars for me, but
That's fine.
I did not rank this based on if I think it's the best horror film ever made.
Oh
I
no,
just
these
did
are
it
very
based on
much These
my
are our
enjoyment.
favorites. Absolutely.
So you're gonna see a theme here. Let's just say that. Okay, getting into the list. So at 10, I have one of my favorite horror comedies, which you guys know that's a genre that I love, Shaun of the Dead,
Nice.
which I want to rewatch soon because I love that movie. You guys have both seen it, right?
Yes.
Of course.
Yeah, it's fucking hilarious. I love that movie. And then at number 9, I have Halloween.
Nice.
So a little bit lower down the list, but I still love it. I just rewatched it. It's that opening scene. Like,
Oh, it's so good. You say
my brain can never
you say
process
lower
it
down the
fully.
list. It's still in the top 10 of all time. Like it's still.
Right. No, I just meant lower than
I
because you had it
know.
at 7.
I
so,
know.
Yeah. Still in top 10. Still
Yeah.
fantastic. Very classic, perfect, John Carpenter-esque movie. So, okay, and then at number 8, I have Evil Dead 2.
Nice.
When I
Nice.
rewatched that movie, I think I rewatched it like back in April when I was prepping for Evil Dead Rise. I loved it so much more than I did the first time.
It's so good.
Fucking hilarious. Like Ash has to be the most iconic horror character ever to exist. And obviously I'm biased to Ash, but that is my number 8. And that one can kind of flip-flop, but I think 7, I feel pretty good about saying Alien. It's not in my top 5. I know, Byron, I'm sorry, but I still love it. I'm just not as much of a sci-fi
At least
horror
it's on there.
person.
At least
It's on the
there.
list. I just
least it's on
rewatched it. I think it was like 3 weeks ago, and I had forgotten like how haunting it really is because I always just thought it was a sci-fi movie, but I kind of remembered how much there's like the horror elements. So definitely made the list.
Nice.
And then number 6, I have one of my all-time favorite horror comedies,
There you go.
Tucker and Dale vs. Evil.
Fuck
I think that
yes.
is the most brilliant movie. I don't care what anybody says. That is one of the most perfect horror comedies. It is exactly what you would want in something that is, I don't know how to explain it, but basically with what they're trying to accomplish, it's done so perfectly. Like these poor guys are just trying to enjoy their cabin and everything keeps going wrong, but they just keep looking like they're killers. It's a perfect recipe.
I
I
love
for
will
laughing your
say,
ass off.
I will say, look, it's not anywhere near the top of my ranking, but holy shit, it might just be the funniest movie ever. Genuinely ever.
It's
I
so
can't
good.
think of it.
And that's the thing is people kind of feel like horror comedies don't deserve to be like in top. Like it's different because it's not scaring you in the same way. But I think that subgenre deserves just as much respect as any other horror subgenre. So
Nah, fuck with that.
that's my 10 through 6. Or
Very
sorry,
nice.
10 through 6. Yeah, 10 through 6.
Oh, you're good. Byron.
Now, just
Here
giving
we
a
go.
top 10 is so incredibly hard. I think it's very well known how much I like horror. So it's a real shame that I've left a lot of these movies off. So I am going to give 5 honorable mentions. I could have gave you 30 honorable mentions, to be honest, and still make a top 20 list. Because I really do think there's some really, really good stuff out there. So I'm just so honorable mentions go to Scream, Suspiria, Evil Dead 2, John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness, and The Exorcist. Kicking off my number 10, I have my highest rated international film of all time, which is, in my eyes, the best zombie movie of all time, Train to Busan.
Nice.
Amazing film.
That just got off my top 10.
I think
it was very close.
Look, it almost dropped after I was moving some stuff around, but it's so good.
No, great pick. It needed to be mentioned anyway, so I'm glad you said it.
Absolutely. Number 9 actually belongs to the only slasher that I hold out of 5 out of 5 stars, which is the original Tobe Hooper's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I think for 1974, it's an achievement and a half. It's absolutely incredible.
It's brilliant. Yeah, it's one of the most influential films ever.
Yeah.
I don't think there'll ever be a slasher that I'll rank over it. I really don't.
Nice.
Number 8, and this is a little bit of a odd choice, but I still think it counts, which is Robert Eggers' The Lighthouse.
I think it's in like the fantasy horror genre, so I feel like it's definitely
psychological thriller type. I've included it. I think it's always been in my ranking. I think what Robert Eggers has done with not only The Lighthouse but his 2 horror movies He's done an absolutely amazing job, and I cannot fucking wait for Nosferatu.
Yeah, that's got to be up there with one of my most anticipated of all time.
I think it is my most anticipated movie of next year.
Hell yeah.
Number 7 belongs to Hereditary.
Nice.
I believe my highest rated A24 horror movie.
Nice.
Hereditary isn't just Ari Aster's best work, but I mean, it's this high on my list. It's one of the best horrors of all time, not even in the modern era, just ever.
Yeah.
I mean, what he was able to accomplish with it was absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And my number 6, I wanted it to make 5, but unfortunately it sits at number 6, which is Steven Spielberg's Jaws, the movie that kick-started off the summer blockbuster in such a grand way. It'll forever be a horror movie.
Yeah.
Even though the shark's not actually in the movie for a whole lot of time.
But the idea of the shark is, though.
But the idea of the shark.
Yeah, the danger's always there.
Danger zone. So, Harry, please give us your number 5.
All right. Coming in at number 5. Ash, you said, have we watched it? Number 5 is Shaun of the Dead. I think Shaun of the Dead is the funniest movie of all time for me. It's a horror comedy, so it is a horror film. I absolutely wholeheartedly agree that that's a section of horror. This movie is fantastic. Like, yeah, the writing is brilliant. I've watched documentaries on the making of this film, where just that like one walking shot that Shaun does to the shop and back, and how it's composed again. I think it's stunning, and the way that this is made in like 20 days or something is spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's insane. Everything about this movie I think is perfect. If The World's End was as good as Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead, then we are talking one of, if not the greatest trilogy of all time. Like up
I
there.
still have to see that one. I haven't seen The World's End yet.
It's good. I think it's still, for me, it's underrated, but it's like nowhere near as good as Shaun or Hot Fuzz.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, like I love Hot Fuzz. I think Hot Fuzz is still a 5 out of 5. Shaun's my favorite of the trilogy for sure. I think Simon Pegg's perfect as Shaun, and it's just such a smart comedy. It's so smart, but it still brings those elements of horror towards it. I think are pretty sublime.
Agreed. All
Sublime.
right.
Sublime.
Ash, on to you. Number 5.
All right. Number 5. This might be, well, I have a couple horror hot takes, but this is one of them. I have Army of Darkness. I just rewatched it. I know Byron, he hates that I love this movie so much.
I do not. I do not.
You always laugh every time I talk about it being my favorite.
I was not
of the trilogy, or not the trilogy. I guess it's the whole Evil Dead franchise. But there's just the way that Ash is in this one, and just all the super cheesy practical effect, the skeletons, everything.
So
just
good.
It makes me feel so silly when I watch it, and I adore it so much. The scene where he gets the chainsaw back on his arm and it like flies through the air, and then he gets his boomstick and he's just like groovy, like he's all like sweaty and just like beat up. It makes me happy to watch it. That 91 minutes or whatever it is, 89 minutes. I bought the Steelbook. I just absolutely love that movie. It's definitely become like an all-time favorite of mine. I gave it 5 stars last time that I logged it. So.
I love that you did that. That's awesome. Hail to the king, baby.
I think I'm just such a I love the cheesy old like practical effect horror comedies. Like they're done so brilliantly, and they don't rely on like jump scares or like any of that stuff. You have to just like rely fully on the actor and like their ability to like make it comical. And obviously Bruce does that perfecly.
Yeah,
so
he's great.
That is my number 5.
Did you see the clip of it was, I think it was is it South by Southwest? It's in Austin. It was a showing of Evil Dead Rise, and someone yelled out, "It sucks!" And then Bruce Campbell's on stage. He's like, "Get the fuck out of here, buddy!
Yes.
Get out
I have
of here!"
seen that.
I'm like,
Yeah,
I
because
love
we
it.
don't fuck with Bruce Campbell.
Yeah, and then I went and saw Evil Dead Rise, and like spoilers for future weeks. That's probably my highest rated horror this year. Like I think Evil Dead Rise is splendid.
Fucking bangs.
Yeah, it's so good. So like that guy's.
I love that we all agree on that.
Yeah, that guy's a moron. Sorry, continue. Byron, what's your number
Yeah,
five?
why do people keep fucking with this? My number five is the newest movie to this list, or into my top five at least. I really don't see a time where it's going to drop out, whether I rewatch others or not. My number five belongs to Jordan Peele's directorial debut, Get Out.
Nice.
To think that it's a directorial debut is fucking mental.
Mm-hmm.
What he crafted here was like, I get like a lot of people would have this as a thriller. Okay, Alex tried taking it in a draft, and I was not going to let that slide. This is
Google
a horror
says
through and through.
suspense/horror. So
That was a messy draft.
That's so funny.
Oh, fond memories, man. But no, I think Get Out is an astronomical sized achievement, not only in horror but in filmmaking in general.
mm-hmm.
I mean, all of Jordan Peele's movies, all three of them have been 4.5 or higher. Get Out being the only 5 for me, and it's holding a high 5. It'll probably never drop. It'll probably never escape my top 5. Everything about it is just fucking mental.
Yeah,
It's absolutely great.
Was it nominated for Best Picture? I'm pretty sure it was. It didn't win,
I
of
don't
course,
know.
but he won for Best Original Script, and Kaluuya was nominated for
Yep.
Best
Yeah,
Actor.
that
Like
sounds
that
right.
that in
Deservedly
itself,
so.
absolutely. That in itself shows
Big
the
deal.
quality of a directorial debut. I like this. It's not in my top 10, but I agree with everything you say. I think that movie's like so damn good. Like everything about it is just it's so simple and small, but incredibly smart.
I feel like it's a movie that like I haven't been able to forget about it since I saw it. Like it's definitely. I'm with you, Byron. It'll never drop from being 5 out of 5
Yeah.
for me either.
And it's weird to think that this was his debut movie that came out in 2017. It's not too long ago, and he's already considered as one of the greatest horror directors of all time,
Mm-hmm.
with only being 3 features in the last 6 years.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah, he's yet to miss, in my opinion, at least.
Mm-hmm.
I love all of them.
Agreed.
I'm starting to believe he won't.
I love all of his films, but I do think that Get Out is by far his best. Which is just like that's not saying the other two are bad by any means, but like that's just like he's a masterpiece standing next to 2 great films. Like
You guys, what do you guys rate Us?
I love Us. I think Us is great.
I think I have it like at 4.
Yeah, I'd give it like a 4 out
I
of
see a
5.
lot of people, because I have it at a 4.5.
Yeah, I need to rewatch
there's been
it. To be honest.
There's been
I think
videos I've
that's
stated
valid.
that, and people they just look at me like I'm insane. So
no.
they're like, oh, let's look at 3. I'm like, fuck.
No,
I
it's
gave
not
it 4, but I watched it at a time when I didn't use Letterboxd. So I think that's just what I gave it, like based on what I could remember. But I'd have to rewatch it again to kind of like fully rate it. But yeah, I think it's great still.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Nice pick.
Harry, number 4, please.
So my number 4 is one of the greatest sci-fis of all time, Ridley Scott's Alien. I think we've already like touched on it, of course, but I think just the sense of claustrophobia that this film allows you to feel is an achievement. The creature design of the xenomorph, one of, if not the best creatures in movies. I love this. I love a closed setting horror. That's like my favorite type of horror. Like if I had to just like my favorite genre of horror is probably slasher, to be honest. But like a closed setting horror, which a couple of the next ones are gonna be, that's my favorite. And like the idea of all this happening in space where no one can hear you scream, it like adds another layer of horror onto the film. I think everything about this film's incredible. I watched it again like a couple of weeks ago, and it still lives up. And the movie was made in what, like 79? Like
76. I thought it was 76. Is it 79?
Yeah,
79.
that's nuts to me That's crazy. And
That might be
this,
the best
If,
tagline
if
of
the
any movie
seventies
ever.
weren't,
Oh,
if the
easy.
70s weren't stacked enough with horror,
yeah,
Ridley Scott's just like, yeah, hold on,
yeah. Hold my beer.
one more,
Hold my
just
beer.
fit one
No,
more in
I
there.
actually think that that might be like the most memorable tagline of a movie ever. Like, I think even people who don't like necessarily like,
And
oh my God, I love Alien, they know that tagline. Like,
Yeah.
that's just like
in
an
space, no one
unforgettable
can
one.
hear you scream.
It's so good. That one
And
line, you're
Ellen
just like,
Ripley
oh.
is just,
Ellen Ripley
she's
is a badass motherfucker as well.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
she's one of the most badass characters in movies.
One of the best
and-
horror characters, one of the best action characters.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, Alien is that film. I love that. I love that movie so much.
Fuck yeah.
nice. All right.
Ah.
So my number 4 is, I think, my biggest movie hot take of all
I love
time,
this.
and
Go
that
ahead.
is Sinister. I have it at a 5
Oh,
out of 5. I
nice
don't
one.
care.
Yeah.
I saw that movie when I was like 16, I think, and it scared the living shit out of me. It's probably the only horror movie that has actually ever scared me. I don't really get scared of anything. I didn't even lose sleep over Hereditary. Like, I was disturbed, but it wasn't like, didn't scare me. This
Yeah.
movie truly terrified me. I actually just rewatched it like a week ago. I just love it. I mean, I watched it on I have an OLED TV now, so like all the dark
Ooh.
colors are even darker. That movie is like so haunting and dark and color, like everything that he chose to do with the lighting. It's like you feel like you're like there with
Yeah.
Ethan Hawke, like while he's. It's just so disturbing on so many levels, and I wish they would have done something cooler with Bagul. That's his name, right? Bagul. I think that's how you say it.
Yeah,
But-
I forget the pronunciation.
Yeah, I wish they would have done something cooler with it, like with the second one and like a better like series after. But that first one just still holds up so well for me. I know people have their own opinions about Scott Derrickson, but I think with horror films, he definitely
He
knows
gets
what he's
it. No,
doing.
he's
I love
great.
the Black Phone too.
He directed
Yeah,
Doctor Strange, didn't he?
the first one.
I love directors that just have like the most randomest like movies next to each other. Like if you look at their filmography, it's just like
It's
Yeah.
so
fucking
weird.
sinister Doctor Strange.
Definitely kind of out there for him, but yeah,
Also
no,
the Black
huh?
He also did the Black Phone.
Yeah, which I love that movie. I give that one a 4.5.
I love
Sinister is
that
like a 3.3 in Letterboxd. I don't care. I will defend
That's
that movie
nuts.
for my life. I don't care. It's so good, and it's also actually like well acted and like well written, like well directed. Like it's not just like good for jump scares.
Ethan Hawke.
So Ethan
One-
Hawke, you know how much I love him. He's just great in that
Yeah.
movie.
Can we put Ethan Hawke in more horrors, please?
For
he's,
real.
He's great. Put him in
He's
everything. I don't
fucking-
care.
It was everything, especially look. I don't think the Black Phone at first I did think it was like absolutely amazing, one of the best horrors of the decade so far. Probably still is. But him as the grabber, please give him more roles like that.
So
Yeah.
terrifying.
Amen. One word though about Sinister: lawnmower.
Oh yeah, the lawnmower
Yeah.
scenes. That one haunts me to this day.
Yeah.
I showed my 15-year-old niece the movie and she didn't flinch once. I was like, "What's wrong with you that you don't think this is scary? Like, are you okay?"
Yeah, she's a fucking
Because even I got a
nutcase.
couple of them got me, and I've seen it like 7 times, and it still got me.
Didn't flinch. What a fucking
So
psychopath.
yeah, that is my number 4. And if you don't like that movie, I don't want to hear about it. So.
Nice. I love that as your number 4, Byron.
My number 4 is a movie that Letterboxd has recently moved into the horror genre. Thank God, because it has always been a horror movie in my eyes, which is The Silence of the Lambs.
Nice.
Not only one of the best thrillers of all time, but it's now one of the best horror movies of all time. I think every inch of this movie is incredible, from the performances from Jodie Foster and Anthony Hopkins, especially Anthony fucking Hopkins.
Yep.
It's my favorite performance of his, as I'm sure it is many of others. I mean, they based these movies off of Anthony Hopkins because he was always the perfect actor to play this sadistic, twisted son of a bitch, and I fucking love it. So yeah, my number 4 is The Silence of the Lambs.
Hell yeah.
Such a good movie.
That-
Yeah, see, I've never considered that one a horror film, so I will say like that one and American Psycho, I give them both 5s. That's not for me what I would put on a horror list,
Yeah.
but they're still top movies of all time, like in my top 50 favorites. So totally respect that pick. I just think I've always considered it to be more a little bit like of a thriller, like not crime thriller, but more like drama thriller.
Yeah, it's a crime thriller horror.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. How many Oscars that win? So it won the like I can't remember what they call it,
everything.
the set. They won like best actor, actress, picture, director, and screenplay, which is nuts.
The main ones.
Yeah, that's
literally
nuts.
all the main ones.
There's only been like
Honestly, I feel like
movies.
Jodie Foster, she doesn't really get enough respect. Like she's done so many things, like even like being a taxi driver when she was a kid. Like she's been acting forever, and I feel like no one really talks about her like as like a really amazing actress.
I think she's about to get another resurgence because she's in the new True Detective, which comes out in January. And I think she's going to fuck in that. I reckon she's going to go to town because it's the first season. Creators coming back for it, and the first season was very much like it wasn't the first catapult, but it was one of the catapults that put Matthew McConaughey back into the stardom of what he is now. So I think I agree with you. I think Jodie Foster is brilliant. I love her. So I think that she's about to get her comeuppance.
Nice. That's great pick.
Love that.
Now we're getting into the finish, the podium finish.
Top
Number three, Harry.
My number 3. Talk about a closed location horror. This is one of the best of ever. This is Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. I think this is one of the best performances of all time from Jack Nicholson, one of the best actors of all time. And Shelley Duvall puts on a fucking show as well. Everything about this movie is spectacular. Like when you start the movie and that soundtrack starts, like, bah, 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 like instantly you're like, I'm already got chills. But the slow, like what's it called, nosedive into insanity that Jack Nicholson goes through, Jack Torrance, is spectacular. Like it's so good to watch, and there's still like I can't remember what year this was made, but it's still
80.
80, yeah, there you go. It still haunts me. This like the twins, the old woman in the hotel room. This movie is so good, but it uses that closed setting so well because of that sense of isolation that like this family is just alone, that there's no one to help them at all. Yeah, I think this is this is my favorite Kubrick film. I don't think that's a hot take, to be honest. Like, there's like, I guess 2001 for sure for a lot of people, but I would put The Shining above it. But yeah, everything about The Shining I think is so damn good. Ash.
Yeah, and I was gonna say The Shining and The Thing, I think would be like in my like honorable mentions. They're not my favorites because I just don't think I like was attached to them early on enough for it to become a favorite, but I still respect them because I think they're still amazing films.
Oh yeah.
But I don't think The Shining will ever be one that I'm like, oh, that's a favorite movie.
Yeah.
But I just rewatched it last year and I like had forgotten how solid it is. So definitely respectable pick. And I kind of expected that would be in both of your tops. So not too surprised.
We'll find out.
We'll see what Byron says.
We'll find out.
Nah, overrated.
I'm not surprised it's in your top 3. So.
Overrated. 0.5 out of 5.
Yeah. So my number 3 is actually Jordan Peele's Get Out. Nice. I love that movie. It's been an all-time favorite of mine since I saw it. I think I've watched it like 4 or 5 times. I actually want to rewatch it. I bought the 4K copy recently, so I'll probably rewatch it here soon. But I just feel like it's so like it makes you feel so uneasy, and like the build up, the twist. The first time I watched it, I was like, "What the fuck?" Like I was not ready for it. That whole scene when she's putting him like into that place and he's falling, like it just. I felt like my stomach was like sinking when I watched that. It just gives you that like feeling that you want from a horror film, you know? So I have nothing but positive things to say about that movie. I don't have any issues with it. I think it's pretty close to a perfect film. So that's my number 3.
I think Get Out has one of the best horror endings of all time. Where his mate pulls out, I can't remember his mate's name, but I am TS motherfucking A. And instantly
that guy is so funny.
You feel so much relief. He's like, finally, he's safe. Because there's all these
alternate
the whole time
endings.
you're
hoping.
Yeah. There's all these alternate endings that like that he goes back in and he gets killed and stuff like that, or he gets imprisoned and like, but yeah, that ending of his mate coming back, I thought that yeah, so good.
His name is Rod.
Rod, that's right. TS motherfucking A. We handle shit. Consider this shit
So good.
motherfucking handled. So good. Love that pick.
Fantastic film. So Byron, what's your third?
After I say my third, I'm pretty sure everyone will know what my top two are. Now, depending on what order you think they're in, you're probably wrong. My number three, and it'd be a shame if this man didn't have a movie on this list, it's John Carpenter's The Thing. The second best science fiction horror of all time, in my eyes. I think, look, John Carpenter will always get praised for Halloween as his most known movie. The Thing reigns as, in my opinion, by far his best.
I would say it's a better made movie than Halloween for sure.
I think this movie has one of the best settings in all of horror. I think it has some of the best special effects, practical effects in any movie, and coming out in the early 80s. Like, it's fucking insane. It's mind-blowing. Kurt Russell is another standout of The Thing. I think it is his best performance of his career.
Nice.
Maybe his performance as Ego in Guardians 2.
Yeah, cool. Slight rival,
yeah.
People are going to think I'm serious. But no, The Thing is, it's incredible to look at. It's incredible to listen to, and it's so fucking scary. And you won't hear me call a lot of movies scary. Like I've seen over 360 odd horrors. It's pretty tough nowadays to actually scare me. Jump scares will always have that effect, but to actually scare me is very rare. But the Thing does it, and it does it fucking well.
Nice. That's a great pick.
Great pick.
Number 2, Harry. My number 2, there it is The Thing. Yeah. Number 2 is The Thing. I echo everything Byron just said. The paranoia that this film produces, this whole movie, the whole fear is paranoia. Like that talk about the greatest ending of all time. The Thing's up there as well. Of just both of them sitting around the fire, being like, let's just wait it out. Like that idea is so good, but one of them's The Thing, but they just don't know. But as Byron said, everything about this movie, the location is perfect. This isolated snow cabin where they can't even really go outside for long, but then the slow infestation of insanity and paranoia across everyone's minds is so good. The scene of the testing where everyone's like sitting in seats and they like is electrocute them. Yeah, it's electrocute them, right? A slight electrocution. That is one of the best scenes in horror for me, where like the last guy starts to shake. It's so good. Kurt Russell's incredible, almost as good as he was as Ego, and almost. Yeah, almost. But yeah, that movie's the easiest 5 out of 5 I've ever given, I think.
Have either of you seen the other two Thing movies?
I watched the prequel. I haven't. Is there a third?
The original.
The original one, yeah. I've never watched the original one.
The Thing, titled The Thing from Another World. Right. 1951, I believe.
Oh.
No, so that's the first one. John Carpenter's is the remake of that, and The Thing from 2011 is a prequel to both.
I like the prequel because the ending of the prequel where it leads into, because I didn't know it was a prequel, and how it leads into the original, I thought was is actually so good.
Yeah, I didn't realize that there was a prequel. I mean, I knew that there was one that came out later, but I just assumed it was a remake of the original.
Yeah, I thought it was a remake as well, and it's a prequel.
Yeah. I
Good to
included
know.
it in a remake ranking, and people are very upset with me.
So you know the scene in The Thing, Ash, where they go to the other station and it's all like hollowed out and there's like bodies everywhere. It's of those people. That's the movie.
Oh, okay, interesting. I'll have to check it out at some point. I do think the more I'll watch the thing, I do think it'll go up a little bit.
Yeah, nice. Hell yeah. Ash, what's your number 2?
Okay, number 2 for me. I don't think this is gonna be too much of a surprise. It's one of the greatest slashers that I just gave 5 out of 5 finally, and that is Scream.
Nice.
Actually, my top 2 are the same director, so you probably can guess what my number 1 is, but we'll get into that. But yeah, Scream, so iconic. I saw it when I was a teenager, and I think I've watched it every year pretty much since. I've probably seen it 13, 14. I don't know, how old am I now? I've probably seen it at least 13 times. Just so iconic. And I love knowing that Drew Barrymore was supposed to be like Sydney.
Yeah.
And she ended up just being in the way that they ended up twisting that around was so iconic. And I think it was better that she played the role she played. I do think that Neve Campbell was perfect for Sydney, but yeah, I honestly don't think that there's like any flaws in that movie. It's a perfect parody slasher movie that ended up being so well done that they had to then make another parody about Scream with Scary Movie.
Yeah, it's kind of like a full circle.
Yeah.
Scream is a movie that it's like you had the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you had Halloween. After those 2 movies released and had the reaction that they did, a lot of movies tried making slasher movies. It's like every fucking studio was just like, we need to make a slasher movie because these things rip. So many failed. Scream came along and redefined the slasher subgenre in such a brilliant way, and just like Halloween and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre did, a lot of movies tried replicating Scream, and although none of them ever reached the same success as Scream did, like Scream is heavily influential for some very good slashers. I Know What You Did Last Summer is probably one of the better examples of that. And that movie's not amazing, but
it's good fun.
The influence it got on Scream
is a classic.
100% there.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think with Scream, the whole concept of like it always being somebody who's within the circle of the group in some fashion or connected to the group in some fashion. I mean, once you know who the killer is, I feel like it doesn't take away from the rewatchability of any of the movies, honestly. Like, I enjoy all of them, even though the first one is far and away the best.
Yeah.
I will.
But what were you going to
say? I mentioned this to Harry and Alex and the others. Whoever the fuck watched Scream and thought, you know what, I'm gonna cast Matthew Lillard as Shaggy Rogers. You're fucking weird. You're weird. Who the? I mean, I'm glad it wasn't the other way around. I'm glad they didn't see Shaggy and they're like, that's our Ghostface. That's our serial killer. Like that would be fucked up.
I kind of can't
so many
see
people
it,
are huge fans of him as Stu. Like they
awesome.
love that character. Yeah,
he is. I think everyone's favorite. It's like they've been teasing him in the recent movies. At the end of Scream 5 with the knife clean. That was his famous way of cleaning his knife. And then in 6, they obviously said, well, he was never confirmed to be dead. Yeah, make your fucking money, you fucks. I'll be there watching it. I'll be there.
Oh yeah, I'm sure I'll see every Scream movie that comes out. But yeah, the first one will always be my favorite, I'm sure, and that is my number 2. So.
Nice. Be Dizzle.
What do you got, Byron, for number 2?
Number 2.
Drum roll.
I've been bouncing this decision like all over the place for like 3 months now. Number 2 is The Shining.
Yeah, I knew that was going to go that way.
I think now everyone knows what my number 1 is. But number 2, The Shining, it does take the cake for my favorite Kubrick.
Yep.
I don't believe it's his best movie. Obviously, his best movie in my eyes is 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's also the greatest movie ever in my official ranking that no one can see.
It's no Big Mama's House.
People will bully me if they see that list.
No national treasure.
It's no
Um,
national treasure. It's no national. It's just not though. It's not.
I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna watch it.
It's just not though. It's not.
But yeah, number 2 is The Shining.
It's not.
My favorite Kubrick movie. There's not a singular standout here. Let's be real. You could say the standout is Stanley Kubrick's direction. You could say it's Jack Nicholson's performance, which I believe is, if I were to rank like everything in this movie, there's a good chance I'd put Jack Nicholson's name at the very top of that list.
For sure.
What he did with Jack Torrance, it's actually scary. Like, not even like, this is some like Joaquin Phoenix Joker type shit. Like, seeing them as the character is scary. Like, I had to premise that because me saying, like, they might have just sounded like I just put Joaquin Phoenix's Joker on the same level. But it's one of the greatest performances of all time. Dare I say number 1, honestly. It'd be podium for sure for me. There's another movie that you could argue that it's not a horror, that it's more of just a psychological thriller. I understand both sides of that argument, but like, it's a horror through and through, and it'll forever be not only one of the best horrors ever made, but just one of the best movies. It's inside my top 15 of all time, I believe.
It's definitely a horror. It's definitely a horror.
Yeah. You have seen the people that try to argue it.
Yeah, but it's stupid.
It's just like, it's more
Silence of the Lambs, to me, I feel like you could argue more in the thriller realm,
that's more like
The Shining.
Yeah, Silence of the Lambs is like they're hunting down a serial killer. This has a river of blood. Like,
right.
There's a difference.
I was gonna say, my favorite part about this movie, even though I know it's not my favorite like your guys's, but the colors here, like even thinking like back to Suspiria when you brought it up, like I was starting thinking about The Shining, like the color palettes there, so good. That same 70s vibe.
Yellow,
even though
green,
I know it came out in 80, but it kind of had that late 70s vibe.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah. Imagine if it was released just a year before.
Yeah.
How stacked the 70s could have been.
Oh my god, yeah, it would have been.
They would have had Alien and The Shining released in the same year.
Stacked year.
Yeah, 79 would have been nuts.
The 70s would have never been topped. And honestly, I don't think it's a hot take by saying the 70s is by far the greatest decade for horror.
Yeah, sure. I don't know off the top of my head do
you doubt that?
I would have to look at the films.
Yeah, no.
This is another episode.
Another time.
We're going to talk about it right fucking now here. No.
All right.
Well, now there's only 3 entries left on here. So, Harry, what's your number 1?
My number 1 movie is the greatest slasher of all time. All right.
What? No.
It's Scream. Scream is spectacular. It's either that or Kurt Russell's performance as Ego is the greatest horror of all time. But no, Scream is, as Ash said, it's really, everything about it. Like the writing itself is awesome. So I've got short-term memory loss. Did you touch on the twist of how it was 2 killers, of how that?
No, I did not touch on that.
That in itself is insane. I showed someone the Scream for the first time this week, and at the end of it, she's just like, "There's 2?" And I was like, "Yes."
It's so obvious when you rewatch it enough times. Like it's so obvious that it's them 2. But when I first saw it, I had no fucking idea.
Yeah, a lot of slashers, and especially nowadays, they are probably some of the most predictable movies you're ever going to watch.
Yeah.
The classics, especially when it comes to Scream, with like movies that have that mystery guessing factor, no one's going to do it like Scream. No, if anyone watched Scream the first time and they're like, you know what, there'll be 2 killers and it'll be him and him.
Yeah.
Like,
Lying.
You ain't getting that. Like, I've predicted a lot of slashes. The Scream sequels, I got a lot of those right. But Scream 1 holds some of the most unpredictable horror twists ever.
Because you're watching it, you're like, of course it's Stu. Like the whole time,
Mhm.
like Stu very much is like,
Dude just looks evil.
but he's got that goofiness that you're like, he's probably a bit psychotic. Like it's of course Stu. Like the whole time, everything just links up. Oh, it's Stu, it's Stu, it's Stu, and it's
Mhm.
like it's Billy and Stu. I think is so damn good. But like so the twist, the rules of a horror movie scene is one
I'll
of
be right back.
one of my favorite scenes of all time.
I
Is
love Jamie Kennedy in that role. He's so perfect.
so good. So perfectly written. It's a satire in itself, where like even just like little lines where she's Sydney's on the phone to Ghostface for the first time in her house while she's waiting for Tatum to come and pick her up, and she's like, "What are you like? Are you thinking this is like some scary movie where?" The big boobed teen doesn't like goes up the stairs instead of out the front door, and she goes tries to do the front door and it's locked, and she goes up the stairs, and you're like the little things like that. I'm like, oh, this is so good. But yeah, that dad staying in that closet for that entire week, tied up, he would smell. He would
Oh, yeah.
smell.
Be a pretty rough experience.
Yeah, rough. But yeah, that's easily my number one horror of all time. Ash.
It's one of the
Amazing
best parts ever,
Yes.
Yeah, amazing cast.
especially for slashers.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
have your
Yeah.
main character, you have your main villain, and you have your main survivor.
So
This
good.
Scream has like five normal characters, and then the fucking character.
Yeah, let's just say that there's enough characters that people like or root for that there's a blind ranking of 10 of them on TikTok filter.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that movie had like all of the movies are so iconic that people want to like
Although-
rank 10 characters.
Yeah.
Neve
absolutely.
Campbell, please come back.
She will.
I know.
Just throw her a bag.
Stop,
Like, she'll
stop
just
having
get
contract
cash.
disputes. Like, come on,
Just throw
give,
her a cash.
give her as much money as she fucking wants.
Right? Yeah, great pick, Harry. All right, so my number one is my favorite horror film of all time, and it has been for about, I don't know, 17 years, and that is Nightmare on Elm Street. I think I might be the only person on Letterboxd that I have at least that gives this a 5. I don't know why it's not as loved. I just maybe have a fascination with Freddy Krueger, I guess, but I've always found him to be the most interesting and most terrifying horror villain. So I've always enjoyed these movies. I like the first 3 a lot. I think they're really fun, but the first one is by and far my favorite.
Yeah.
I love Nancy. I like the aspect of the dreaming and being able to, kill in the dreams, and that whole concept just fascinates me. And also the
Yeah.
boiler room is so terrifying. And the introduction scene to that movie, it's so campy, and I think that's why I like it. It's even more campy than like Halloween is, or even Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And the colors, obviously, I think I kind of vibe with that color palette more than like Halloween, for example. So that is my number one. I will defend that movie as well with my life.
I love that.
And yeah,
It
I
uses
think the advantage that A Nightmare on Elm Street has is that it's more genuinely frightening than pretty much every other slasher.
hmm
Like Robert Englund,
terrifying.
yeah.
dude, he was menacing, man. Like he scared the living shit out of me.
I think he might have been like born to play that role. Like I can't really
Oh,
imagine anyone else
right.
having played that. Also, shout out to Johnny Depp. That's his introduction
So
role
good,
into
so
film.
Oh, yeah.
What well, don't you dare. Johnny Depp's king.
No.
What Nightmare on Elm Street does so well is that it like turns this one aspect that everyone has to do to live, which is sleep, and turn it into like you're fearing it. It turns like you're scared to sleep in itself. That is so good. So yeah, the idea is
Only 1% of people are lucid dreamers.
yeah.
Wow.
I've said that maybe 30 times on TikTok because
Can we get
fuck,
someone
they're not series.
can we get,
People try to argue it.
can we get someone to go back and count to make sure that fact is checked that he said it 30 times?
Yeah, I need to get a fact checker on
Can we get a
that.
fact check
Yeah, go
on
on.
that?
Through all the comments, go, yeah, go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do it.
I'm gonna have to ask Jay in particular
Do it.
to fact check Byron, please. Just go through all these videos. Byron, what's your number one?
You tell me. You tell me.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Harry,
No.
I literally was about to say that. How dare you?
I'm sorry.
No, my number one is a revolutionary masterpiece. Not only one of the best horror movies of all time, but one of the greatest features of all time. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey is nah, fuck that shit. That's one of the worst pieces of shit I've ever fucking seen in my life. Number one's Ridley Scott's Alien.
Nice.
Big shock.
One of the best sci-fis, one of the best horrors. Ridley Scott's best movie, which is just mind-boggling to say when you consider what he has in his filmography. Gladiator, Blade Runner, to name a couple. Those are 5 out of 5s, and I think Alien is just incredible. One of the most claustrophobic, atmospheric movies of all time. It's a thing that came out in the 70s. Again, is just mind-blowing.
Mm-hmm.
Ridley Scott is my favorite director. There is no bias towards that because Alien hasn't always been my favorite movie. But when I properly started getting into movies and I'm watching all this different shit, Alien has always been the movie that's like, oh yeah, I always think back to that just being fucking the best. And then I rewatch it. And then I rewatch it again and again and again and again. And it's one of the biggest achievements in all of cinema.
Oh yeah.
That's my claim. It's masterful. And I throw that word out quite a lot. Like if you were to go through all of my reviews, I'd probably say the word masterful in almost every single one of them.
Jay, we're gonna need to fact check that
I
as well.
believe this is a
Yeah, seriously.
good luck. Are you paying him for this? You gonna
Yeah.
pay him an hourly?
I'm gonna pay him in a crisp.
You know how long it would take?
Is that the only movie that we all three have on our list? Alien?
I believe so.
Sure, you don't have
Think
Shining,
so?
do you? You don't think?
Nope.
No, she doesn't
Yeah,
have
wow,
the
there you go.
thing either.
Oh, is everyone have Halloween?
No,
No.
Byron doesn't.
Oh,
Bro, Halloween is
Alien's the
Okay.
only one.
wow, there you go.
Halloween.
That's
Out
awesome.
of the 359 horror movies I have ranked, yes, I have them all ranked.
I don't think
Halloween
anyone's surprised by
Is
that.
just outside the top 20.
Oh, nice. Cool.
I don't know
Nice.
if that's a hot take or not. It's 21.
No, great pick for number one though, man. It makes sense. Like it's
Yeah.
sublime.
Alien slaps. Alien bangs. Alien claps. Alien. Yeah, I don't know.
Nice.
Alien's the best.
I like that though, that we all have a different list, really, except for one movie. Like, I guess that just goes to show how, like, I feel like horror films, especially, can just really be a matter of like how you connect to it or what kind of subgenre you really
Super diverse.
click with.
yeah.
Because I think I have 4 or 5 horror comedies on my list.
Yeah,
Which is
I
interesting.
expected that from you. I
Yeah.
expected there to be a lot of horror comedy and slashes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, another thing I forgot to touch on about A Nightmare on Elm Street. It's so funny. Like
Hmm.
the humor is through the fucking roof.
Which isn't
don't-
shocking that I like it that much.
I'm trying to
but, like,
think of like characters that are equally as scary and funny.
Yeah,
like-
I laugh a lot when I watch
Like,
that
some of the
movie.
shit that comes out of Freddy's mouth is like fucking insane.
Yeah. Should we?
Also, recap it if you want.
Yeah. Should we recap? Should everyone go through?
Harry, yeah, 10 through 1.
So my 11th was Suspiria. Just to give another honorable mention. Number 10 was Rosemary's Baby. Number 9, Jaws. Number 8, Hereditary. Number 7, Halloween. Number 6, Pan's Labyrinth. Number 5, Shaun of the Dead. Number 4, Alien. Number 3, The Shining. Number 2, The Thing. And number 1, Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 2.
All right. At number 10, I have Shaun of the Dead. Number 9, Halloween, the OG. Number 8, Evil Dead 2. Number
Nice.
7, Alien. Number 6, Tucker and Dale vs. Evil.
I love that.
Number 5, Army of Darkness. Number 4, Sinister. Number 3, Get Out. Number 2, Scream. And number 1, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nice.
My number 10 belongs to Train to Busan. Number 9 belongs to Tobe Hooper's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Number 8, I have Robert Eggers' The Lighthouse. 7 belongs to Ari Aster's Hereditary. Number 6 belongs to Steven Spielberg's Jaws. Number 5 belongs to Jordan Peele's Get Out. Number 4, I have The Silence of the Lambs. Number 3, I have John Carpenter's The Thing. Number 2, I have Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. And number 1 belongs to Ridley Scott's Alien.
Nice.
Lots of variety in these lists.
Horror is the best. I think the horror genre works with every other genre. You can have science fiction, comedy works really well. Fantasy is hard to pull off, but it works.
Pans
Action, Aliens is probably the best example I can think of. I mean, Terminator, if you really think about it.
Predator.
Predator, yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah, that whole franchise. Yeah. Fuck, I don't think I have Predator in my horror ranking.
That's something.
Thank you, Ash. I'm going to update that later.
What do we got?
But yeah, lots of great genres. So.
I was going to ask if you had any honorable mentions that none of us have mentioned.
Mine was just Suspiria. That was the one that I was fighting to get on.
I would say A Quiet Place and The Conjuring and 28 Days Later are definitely all honorable mentions for me.
and
yeah. Blair Witch Project for me as well. I love Blair Witch Project.
The Witch.
Mm-hmm. I know you love that one.
Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, Midsommar, Park Chan-wook's Thirst. I don't know if you guys have seen that movie. It is one of the better vampire movies.
Nice.
Everyone knows my distaste for another famous vampire franchise.
Wow, you don't like Underworld?
No.
Wow.
I don't.
Pete Beckinsale's best performance.
Yeah.
Who?
Black Christmas. And her relationship with Pete Davidson up there, best performances.
I don't know. I think Click might be her best performance.
Yeah, actually, Click's rad. Click's awesome.